All right, guys, welcome back. Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel, talking about Arkansas reportedly hiring Alex Golesh as their new head football coach. Before we jump into things, let's tell you about our friends over at Game Time Sidekicks, officially licensed stainless steel drinkware. Every SEC school is there. Over 350 more universities as well. If you're an Arkansas fan, you're excited about the hire, give us your grades as you jump in, and you just want to drink a beverage out of a nice cup, you can do that at Game Time Sidekicks. Stainless steel sippy cups, tumblers, 40-ounce bottles, shaker cups. They got it all. SE16 is the code. You know it by now. SE16, 20% off over at GameTimeSidekicks.com. All right, Chris, Alex Golesh seems to be the pick for Arkansas. Trey Schapp has reported that. We'll see how the confirmations go from there on some of this, but seems to be Alex Golesh is the guy.
A little surprised, are you?
I mean,
and I don't mean in a bad way. I'll get to that, but
no. I know what you're saying. I think it's the domino effect is what's beginning here, and I think there were some people initially thought he could be in the mix at Florida, but I am a little surprised that he wound up being the guy at Arkansas.
Yeah, I thought that he might be an SEC coach. I just didn't think that would be the destination for a few reasons. And one of them was which last we heard from, I think it was Hunter Yurchek, I think there were things in the air about them making a defensive-based hire. And I'm not saying that would have been the right call. Like, look, for the record, let's not bury the lead. I love the hire. I really love the hire. I think Arkansas gets an A with this one. I think that's about as good as Arkansas could have possibly gotten. He turned South Florida around in a hurry. He had the Bulls beating Florida at Florida earlier in the year. Like, there's nothing about this hire that I don't like for Arkansas. And by the way, what has put butts in seats at Arkansas, Blake? If it's offensive football. And now you got a coach who's been a coordinator at Tennessee and certainly knows how to gear a team that way.
Yeah, I mean, you said it. I mean, look, this is a guy who was there at Tennessee. His record at South Florida, 22-15 overall. Of course, they're 8-3 this year. Back-to-back bowl games, and of course, this year they'll be set for that. I mean, we said it after the Florida game. And Sam brings up a good point. Let's not forget this too. Like he didn't exactly have all the best positioning in the world when he took over to where he was just going to go out and win 10 games every year. And also I pointed this out at the beginning, but I'll say it again. No, like it hasn't been confirmed. That's how this stuff works. Like you don't have a confirmation yet. But we're going to do what everybody else is doing right now, and that's talking about the report that he is, the report is he's going to be hired. So if we don't talk about it, people are going to say, well, why are you talking about it? So, no, I get the question, and it makes sense. But they are still just reports, so keep that in mind. If we do another one of these 2 hours from now and it's another coach, then you'll know that perhaps things went the other way. But, no, I mean, you said it. I think, it's an offensive guy. Was with Heupel and – yeah, I mean, I think he'll do an okay job, but I'll say the same thing I always say when we talk about these things these days, Chris. I mean, it's really dependent on the resources that are available and, NIL and all that stuff. That's going to determine a lot of it.
The resources are the question, right? Because a lot feel like they have shifted towards John Calipari's basketball program, allegedly, and maybe Dave Van Horn's baseball program, too. So, I mean, there is money in that state. You've got the Walton family. You've got the Tyson family. I've heard that the Waltons haven't been as big into Arkansas sports lately, at least on the donor side. Maybe allegedly not been asked. Can't verify that, but that was interesting. It was brought up on a show I was on this morning. And yeah, I think resources really were the big question, but they had enough to convince Alex Golesh to take the job, apparently. So maybe that's been overblown. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. You guys, again, weigh in the chat. We got a lot of people hopping in. Let us know your thoughts. If you're an Arkansas fan, grade the hire. What grade are you giving it if this winds up being the decision and the choice? Other fans, what grade would you give it? 9-time champion, giving Chris Lee's hair an A+. Always. never in doubt. But, yeah, I mean, Sam brings up, talking about the role that Golesh played in, just the whole game planning aspect and, all that kind of stuff too. And I think, yeah, and this is why we were talking about him earlier in the season, right? We were kind of joking when they beat Florida. We're like, well, you may be looking at the next Florida coach, just because I think there was a thought that this guy, and you said at the beginning, is going to wind up being probably head coach in the SEC somewhere. And it was just a matter of how the dominoes would fall. And if this is where we get to, I mean, remember, he's 41, young guy. He's got a lot of coaching experience, though, for a young guy. And so I think, yeah, I mean, there's a lot worse choices you could make here. And I think that when we maybe settle on the grades, I would say this is an easily, I don't know what my grade would be right now, but I think it's a pretty good hire if that winds up being the guy.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to something Sam put up here a minute ago. Remember when that job changed hands in Knoxville and Josh Heupel and Golesh took over? They're taking over for a defensive-oriented head coach, Jeremy Pruitt, right? The offense was pretty terrible. It wasn't like Tennessee was bringing in, and look, I think the talent was probably better than recognized at the time, just because Pruitt did such a good job. But let's face it, when Golesh and Heupel came in, it's not like everybody was saying this is a sleeping offensive giant just ready to awake, right? That's not how I remember it. And next thing you know, you got guys thrown out all over the yard. They made Hendon Hooker into Heisman candidates. They're sending running backs to the NFL left and right. Yeah, I mean, and then he goes to South Florida and again turns that program around quickly. Arkansas is a place where, there have been some pieces there, right? You had Taylon Green this year, you had Satania, you had Mike Washington. There were some good pieces in place, but not enough of them, particularly on the defensive side of the ball. What I like about this for Arkansas, Blake, is you've got a guy that's been part of two staffs that flipped it pretty quickly without just having one 5-star recruit after another that we can name.
Yeah. Well, let's get to some of the comments here. JHO says, not too sure as a Hawk fan. I'll give it a B+ if this were to happen. Or a B. Sorry, I gave you the plus there. You can pick plus or minus, but going to go with a B on that. Hollywood's going to go with a horrible hire here on this one. Wow. 9-time champion. It's going to say it's a very good hire. I've heard from big money donors at Arkansas that they had pulled significant assets from football. Would imagine this move will bring the big money back in. And I think anytime you do make a coaching change, there's always going to be that lure of, hey, this is going to be different, and everyone's optimistic because you haven't lost a game yet. And so I do think you have that opportunity to capitalize on it, and we know Arkansas can certainly find the resources if needed to be successful. I mean, look, Sam's going to go as far as saying I'd rather have Golesh than Heupel. So, I mean, we know, though, Sam's always been big on Golesh, and so he's not backed off of that. So, yeah, and I think, Pastor Bill going to go with C+, saying not better than Petrino. I just think we knew.
See, I think that's hard, man. I'm giving that probably an A-.
I think the Petrino comparison, I think, is just, it's a hard one to do because it'd be different if Petrino was out there as an offensive coordinator somewhere else right now. But again, his chances of winning the job, I think, were just, I don't know, man. Again, Golesh is 41, and he is seen as one of the top rising minds out there in the sport. And whether you think, again, and we can have fun with our grades, guess what? It doesn't matter until they play games and you win or lose. But I just think that he has been seen again as one of those guys that, remember, Chris, we used to make the comparison. If you even breathed the same air as Sean McVay, you were going to get hired somewhere. Yeah. If you had breathed the same air as Nick Saban, you're going to get hired somewhere. I think if you're an offensive mind who has breathed the same air as Josh Heupel, you got a pretty good shot. And he's had some success, and he's proven himself. So I think, I don't think it's a bad hire at all.
Well, here's what I want to know from people who do not like the hire. What is it that you're seeing that I'm not seeing? Is there something about Alex Golesh that you don't like? Is it that you wanted a Lane Kiffin type guy, which I don't think was going to be realistic? I just like, is your issue with Alex Golesh himself, or did you have the bar higher for what you wanted to hire? And if you did, what was the basis for that? Because again, what's been in the air, Blake, has been they don't have the resources. You've heard Hunter Yurachek openly speak about it. So to me, I just don't get the group of people that don't think this was a really good hire for Arkansas. Tell me what you were seeing that I am not.
Well, and that's what we always say it's different. You go from being in that coordinator role, having to do things, to being a head coach. But again, like, you see what he's taken over, and took over a tough spot and a job that, again, where they were not having success, and then they find a way to grind their way to back-to-back bowl games. Now this year, we know, I know it's 8-3, and for them, that's disappointing probably, Chris, right? I mean, they were sitting right there with opportunities, but, you lose some games, and that just didn't go that way. But, they were positioning themselves to feel like they were in a good spot. I don't know. So I just think that he will do well there, but I'm going to keep saying the same thing, and I'd say this for anybody that gets hired anywhere. It's just really a matter of what they're going to put into it, and I would think that there is optimism that they will put into it what they need to put into it to be successful, kind of knowing where they're at. Shout out to Steak here. Thinks it's a great hire as well for the Hogs. So
I'm looking at it. Okay, Jeff Scott's 3 years before Golesh took the job. 2020, 1-8. 2021, 2-10. 2022, 1-11. They go 7-6, 7-6, 8-3. Now, hey, look, they had some success that I'd kind of forgotten about with Willie Taggart and Charlie Strong in the middle part of the last decade. So there's that. There's Florida. You've got a recruiting base. But he came in and took over a job that had pretty well bottomed out. And really, except for Jim Leavitt's time, which has been, about close to 20 years by now, when South Florida had it rolling for a bit.
Yeah.
It's been a minute since this program has won consistently, and it was at a bottom level when he took the job. So,
hey, this is the best point too right here. Hey, it's great. Like, great to have the offensive mind, but I think that's what Arkansas fans want. If you weren't going to hire the defensive guy, if it winds up, again, going this way, reminder, if you're just jumping in, this has not been officially confirmed yet, but there are multiple reports out there that it will be Alex Golesh being Arkansas's next head coach. Just make sure you get a good defensive coordinator. It's just, hey, we want to see the defense back. That's going to be important. And so, yeah, I think it's going to be – I think it'll work out well as long as everything is in position for him to be successful.
Well, and look, the Petrino talk, come on, man. I know Petrino was a great offensive coach, but there was baggage there. He's not super trusted. I don't think Alex Golesh has that going against him.
Yeah, no, I think there's a big gap there in terms of probably perception right now for both of them. So I think there is a bit of a gap with that. I agree with Aiden here. Yeah, but plenty of reasons you could get optimistic about the hire. There's no question. I think he's got the body of work to prove it. So, Sam, Alex and Josh got into a lot of screaming matches on the headset. There you go. That's all I need to hear. Sign me up. Just going at him on that. It does. And you've always said this, Chris. This is what the game is. If your line play is not superb in the SEC, they're gonna be just games where you just get mismatch, and you're just gonna get trucked if that's how it goes. So that is also with anything. Remember, it's I don't know, Chris, you can tell me, but we talk about basketball hires. Support staff is important, and not to downplay any of that, right? But it's just when you talk about football hires and you think about you've got your offensive coordinator, your defensive coordinator, your offensive line coach, your defensive line coach, you've just got so many more of those big decisions that can really impact your long-term outlook on a particular job. That's where, again, this job can be made if you're Alex Golesh or anybody else in an SEC situation.
Well, and I'm looking at their defense. It's not like they're awful this year. They're giving up 25 a game, which isn't great, but it's not. I don't know. I'm just trying to find the flaws that people are finding with this hire.
Well, let's be honest too. Anytime you're in a position to hire a head coach, you're going to always start with the biggest name out there and feel
But
that's
Blake, who was that in this case?
no, I
Who
don't know.
was
I'm
that?
just look. There were a lot of people several days ago. You know this. Like we're settled on it was going to be Kane Womack. I think there
Yeah,
were
that's where I thought they
completely
would go.
yeah. But and like we said, remember, I'm going to keep repeating this so that anyone in the comments afterwards, if they go hired Kane Womack, we are not saying this is official. This has been reported multiple outlets, so we're going to do what everybody else is doing. That's react to it. But yeah, I mean, I think he would. If you're talking about realistic choices, I think he would be one of the top realistic choices out there. And so I cannot, I can't fault this hire if that's the case.
I
So
see. I wasn't even sure that would be realistic for them. And again,
well, there
I'm
you
not
go.
knocking the job, but
Yeah,
let's look at what's been in the air around resources.
yeah,
And it's been in a minute since they've won. I thought that with the domino game playing the way it does, that he could have wound up at Florida, or say if Eli Drinkwitz had left Missouri, or someplace like that. Again, not that Arkansas can be a good job, but nobody felt the program was in a great place at the time that Arkansas is making the hire. I've been hearing this from people connected in agent circles and all those sorts of things. So I think to pull that was again, I give the hire, maybe it's an A minus, I don't know, but
mm-hmm.
I think it's no worse than a B plus.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna get a couple more things. Yeah, and then Chris, I know you have to hop off here shortly, and you can do that. I'm just gonna grab a couple more things here, and then I'll bring up something after you hop off just to kind of wrap us up. But Mr. Bloodline here says that think the pushback is that Golesh is an offensive guru, but of course so is Petrino. So where's the upgrade? Both require a good defense coordinator. There'll be trouble. Golesh is just a green Petrino. Yeah.
What?
I don't know. I think Golesh is an upgrade from Petrino, but
I do too. You don't, he's a lot younger and you don't have all the baggage. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I've just never really trusted Bobby Petrino. What would lead you to trust him after the life he's led? Great offensive mind. Yes. Is he the guy that I want running my program? No, he's not.
Yeah. Here's another good point here. Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to that, right? It's just that's the state of the game. He's got to have the resources to be successful, and that's where you mentioned, Chris. Like that seemed to be some of the pushback. Would they have those resources? And we don't know yet. Like these numbers come out and all that. Like we'll know once people start reporting numbers down the road. But I don't know. And here's the better point here, I think, from Craig. An offensive mind that has leveraged the transfer portal, and he's been proven successful at that. And that's something else you've got to be able to do, right? I don't care how great your skill is on one side of the ball or the other, in one area or the other. If you can't go out and just hit home runs in the transfer portal and have those kind of relationships and connections built and all that, I just think you're in trouble, no matter if you're Alex Golesh or anybody these days. So.
Well, and look where he's been for 3 years. He's been in Florida.
Right.
Which is one of the places that if you were in the SEC, you're going to recruit. So he's had a chance to build relationships down there in the midst of all that. Not to mention wherever his territory was at Tennessee, which I can't tell you where that would have been, but I'm sure Sam would know.
Yes, absolutely. All right. Let's see what else. Here's what I was going to bring up, Chris, real quick. So, again, I'm going to bring this up because I think it's important. If you're looking ahead too, of like, we like to play the look ahead game. Well, here's something. If you want to do the short term outlook here, like here is Arkansas' schedule for next year, Chris. I'm going to remove this from the screen. We'll pull this up. There we go. It's kind of hard to see, but they've got North Alabama. They're at Utah, Tulsa, and then it's like you get Georgia and Fayetteville. You get LSU, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina. You got your road games at an Auburn team's going to have a new coach. You're at Texas, which could have a new coach. At A&M, who could be coming off a national championship, depending on how it goes. At a revamped Vanderbilt program. So, like Arkansas' schedule, right off the bat, for whether it's Golesh or whoever, that's where if you want to win right away, you got to have those funds to put together a roster next year. Yeah. Man, look at that schedule, Chris.
It's Tulsa, and then holy smokes.
And remember, that's not the order, so those will because they don't have the official. I guess order's not updated here, but yeah. So I think that's gonna be wild. So yeah. Anyways, dates to be announced on the schedule, but those are the opponents, and that's still pretty brutal when you look at it on the face of it. So
Yeah.
All right. Whoops. Sorry. You're back. Okay, Chris, any additional thoughts here? We're going to hop off shortly. You guys, you're hopping in late. Lots of you starting to hop in here. Give us your grades, your feedback on the hire. If it is Alex Golesh, once again, has not been confirmed as of right now, but multiple reports out there saying it will be. Chris, any final thoughts here?
I guess I'm interested in the timeline, Blake, because let me see what they've got. I mean, they've got another game tomorrow against somebody. Not sure. I'm guessing what happens is he coaches tomorrow. Are they eliminated from the American title chase?
So they will play. They play Rice on Saturday.
Okay.
Let's see. So
North
they've lost
Texas,
to Memphis,
Navy, Tulane, all
Navy.
6-1. So it looks like it would be a stretch.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Okay, so the timing makes sense. He can coach that game. Probably not going to be playing for a title in the American. Not that might have held him up. And then he comes to Fayetteville and gets to start, I would guess, Monday morning, if not Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. Well, we will wait for it to be official. But, yeah, I think it's going to be fascinating to see how this thing plays out here for sure. All right, Chris, hop on off. I know you got to get to something else. I'm going to stay on for a couple more minutes, entertain the chat here. And, we'll, of course, have more thoughts on this week on the channel. So,
yeah. Hey, Arkansas fans, congratulations on your hire. I think it's a good one, even if you don't, and I hope it works out for you.
Yeah. All right. Thanks to Chris. We'll talk to him after Thanksgiving here on the channel. You guys can see my WrestleMania thing over there too. I know some of you guys enjoy my wrestling comments. Some of you don't, but all right, we're going to get to some of your comments here on this. And how you doing? Chris is my goat. Chris is all of our goats here. And Derek, yes, representing the BC Lions is Chris Lee. So again, we've got some interesting comments here. We've got a lot of different schools of thought. You've got Sam and others talking about how, this is something where you feel like it's certainly a step in the right direction. Some people not as impressed. And yeah, I think Steven here with a great comment. Imagine calling an Arkansas fan pessimistic and acting like you don't know why. So I completely understand the pessimism from Arkansas fans. I will give you that. I think it'd be a good hire, but I will give you that for sure. Is that I can understand the pessimism based on previous decisions in some of these. Let's see what other comments we've got here. Remember, leave your super chat. Make sure we get to it as well. And if you leave a super chat, we will get to that one for sure. So some people still throwing around the trash hire. Thoughts in the comments. But again, give me your grades, guys. Give me C, B, A, F, G, whatever you want to give it. Give us your thoughts. And remember, this is something that was reported initially by Trey Schapp that Golesh was going to accept the Arkansas offer. We've seen other people report it since then. I know people have said, well, why isn't this on ESPN and all that yet? Yes, it's not. But look how many people go watch YouTube. There's millions of people reacting to this right now, it feels like. So we will get into a bit on that. So, all right. A thought here. This coach isn't going to win an SEC title, let alone a national title. Just get here and turn the ship around would be appreciated. So I think, it's also a matter of expectations, and that's where you're playing in the SEC, right? For Arkansas fans, like what would you say is a reasonable expectation in the first 2 years? Let's say we'll put that timeline on it. First 2 years, like what is you think a reasonable expectation? Is it to get to the playoff in 2 years, or is it to simply in 2 years at least have the program back to where, let's say, you're winning 7, 8+ games a season and feeling like you're heading in the right direction? Like what is the time frame of what you think in terms of long-term success? I think that's a fair question. So, Mr. Bloodline going to weigh in here. I think it's a bad hire. I also don't think he's better than Petrino. And I know you're not the only one who thinks that. We've seen plenty of that in the chat here. Hunter's going to give it a A- or B. Scotty's going to give it a D. I know Scotty's been a little bit down on this one in the chat, talking about the record and all this other stuff. So, yeah, again, a variety of things. So, here's one. Win 8 to 9 games in the first 2 years. I mean, I think, we're kind of seeing that consistently in terms of some of the responses here to my question. This one here, in 2 years, get to 7, 8 wins would be great. Then worry about it from there. So, see, Philip, I think that's an interesting comment. It says, with a new coach in the transfer portal, you need to make the playoffs the first year. That's today's football. If that is the expectation, I think that's tough because I understand it because you'll say, hey, it's the SEC. But you can't all make the playoff in the first year. Somebody's got to fail, and I think that's a tough ask. But you're right. Like, that is the expectations have changed because of the way things are right now, where it's the transfer portal. You can completely revamp your roster in one offseason to where you can go from a team that's not even in the picture to being a team that can compete for a playoff spot in one offseason. That's all it takes if you hit the right moves in the portal and you have the NIL support and all that. So, but I think it's a tough ask. It really is a tough ask. So, I don't know. Dylan's going to go with a B here on the hire. Andrew's going to say, win the games you're supposed to, and then find an upset or two in year one. Okay. Mr. Bloodline gave it a B+, by the way. So, yeah. How you doing saying if that's the expectation, Arkansas will never keep a head coach? I mean, you could apply that probably to other SEC schools where it's just, like we said. But I get it. I mean, I really do. Everyone, I mean, you can use Vanderbilt as one of the examples, right? I mean, Vanderbilt's competing for a college football playoff this year. And that was the program for the longest time. You said, of course they're never going to think they can make the playoff. Of course they're never going to believe they can get out of the cellar of the SEC. But here they are. So everyone now, including Vanderbilt, who was, again, the laughingstock of the SEC in football for so many years, they are now competing for playoff spots. So if you're Arkansas, I can understand why you're looking up and saying, we better get there. We better get there soon. So, but also, it took Clark Lee a little bit longer than one offseason to get there at Vanderbilt. So, there you have it. How you doing? A fine member here on the channel. Going with a B from an Ole Miss fan there as well. So, Mr. Bloodline, going back to the comments, Golesh, best possible get besides Petrino. Summerall's not coming, so Golesh was number 2 up-and-comer. But yes, Petrino, more experience. Josh, going with a great hire here. And so, yeah, so I think that's kind of the sentiment for sure. So, all right, guys, quickly, I got to pay the bills here at Southeastern 16. Tell you about the Yearly Company, Nashville-based jewelry. Fine brands over there. If you guys are out there shopping for the holiday season, remember, visit the Yearly Company. They are tremendous. They have the custom-sized bangles, so if you are getting your shopping in early, use our code SC16KIT, 100% off over there, SC16KIT, for the free sizing kit. Get some shopping done early this holiday season, and check out our friends over at ROKFORM. If you got a new phone, you need a new phone case, no better place to do it than ROKFORM, ROKFORM.com, world's strongest magnetic phone case. Extreme protection, super strong magnets, rock lock, secure mounting. If you've thrown your phone today because you're unhappy with Arkansas potentially hiring Alex Golesh, once again, not official, you can go get a new one at ROKFORM. Great cases, great accessories. Check out our friends over there, SCC25 for 25% off over at ROKFORM. All right, let's get back to some of your comments here in the chat. Let's see. So what else we got here? How you doing? Yeah, the transfer portal's changed, but you still need the recruiting classes, that's for sure. And Lo was going to say, look, been a rough year for the Hogs, but you have a legit coach now. This guy will win. And, yeah, so it's a mixed bag in the chat, but that's not surprising. Anytime you make a hire, you get people who are in on it, people who are not in on it, but until next year, until games are played, until you start to see the roster, a lot to be determined. But, of course, as Chris noted, yeah, it's going to be interesting on the timing. If this is the official choice, if Golesh is accepted, you do have them playing Rice on Saturday, 6 p.m. Central start time in that one, and we'll find out. So how it goes. But, all right, guys, we're going to hop off here. Lots more stuff on the way. If you're an Arkansas fan and you want to be optimistic about football, but you also want to be optimistic about basketball, We got our Arkansas Duke preview coming up this afternoon. Of course, tomorrow's game, Arkansas Duke on the Hardwood Thanksgiving night special. You can check that out. And as always, if you guys want to jump into our new membership tiers here, we got a lot of bonus content. If you're some Arkansas fans, you're going to enjoy some of the bonus content we have going up here at the channel. So check that out. I'll put the link in the comments. Yeah, you can support the channel, become a supporter, become a MVP, or become a legend here at Southeastern 16. Got lots of options, but let you guys keep weighing in here on the way out. Yeah, not everyone in agreement that this is a good hire. And, yeah, curious to see how it plays out. We will tell you more details once they're made official on this as well. And we'll find out if Alex Golesh is indeed the new head coach of the Arkansas football Razorbacks. All right, guys, we appreciate you watching as always. More comments. Keep reacting below. And, yeah, hit that like button on your way out. Hit the subscribe button as well. Turn on your notifications so you know we got live to talk about these coaching changes and all the big stuff coming up this weekend in SEC football. What's Lane Kiffin going to do? What's going to happen, folks? Leave your comments on that as well. All right, appreciate you guys. We'll talk to you soon. Southeastern 16, presented by FanDuel.